Hey, welcome back, y'all. With the 24 hours of Daytona around the corner this weekend, what better time to go over a photo map than right now? These are just some of my favorite spots as both a fan and credentialed over the past 8 years. Daytona is an exceptionally fan-friendly track. Besides a few spots, you can cover almost 90% of what's here with a regular general admission ticket. Alright, so first things first, we're going to go ahead and pull up our map. And let's start in the stands. Let's just go ahead and get the bonus out of the way here. Now this is actually back here around section 323 on level 3. Right as you walk out into the stands from the bottom. You will need a wide angle for this. Typically I use around a 50mm, and then you'll want to step down the shutter speed as low as you can go to really get the colors in the stands to just kind of fade away. Usually around 130 is a good place to be for this. This spot can really be hit or miss. The higher levels on this far side can be blocked off most of the time, and it tends to vary year over year whether it's available or not. Now I always usually start the race here, just capturing the cars as they approach us head on before the start finish. Usually on the formation laps as well as on the start is a great place to be. For this I've always found higher is just always better. To get them framed like this, you will need a 600mm or around there roughly, and be in around section 360 on level 3 to get everything straight. Now moving down the track more, and we will get this angle of the finish line, which is arguably the best finishing angle in my opinion. I first came across this on an old photo of a Lone Brow 962 from the 86 24 hours, and it just hit me as just being so iconic, and it's still one of my favorite finishing shots to this day. You'll still need a bit of reach as you're shooting from level 3 around section 380 or level 4 from 484 to get a clear shot above the fence like you see here. Alright, one of my favorite pit lane angles can be found over here as well. All the way down at the end of the stands, you can get this really cool head-on shots of the cars coming off the pit lane, and it just comes out so good. Typically for this angle, I'll usually come up around 10 or so in the morning and get a few stops before the finish and then move down to finishing the spot we just covered. Now after this, I will typically just head into the infield right after. I'll usually return to the stands around nighttime and the following morning in the last few hours of the race. Now going back to the infield, on top of the garages is a really great place to get shots of the cars coming around the banking at the start finish. For this, I only shoot portrait to avoid clipping the fence, as you're basically shooting a gap in the gate where the cars are coming out of the garages, and you'll need a bit of reach, a little longer than a 70 to 200, ideally of 100 to 400, as you'll usually want to be around 270. And again, you will want to be as low of a shutter speed as possible to smooth things out, especially the colors in the stands. Now moving down pit lane towards pit exit, you can get a great landscape version of this, of the cars coming off the banking into the infield portion. For this location, it's important to note that you will need credentials as you're basically shooting from empty pit boxes. Coming to the horseshoe now, this is by far the best place to be for photos, and you can get several different shots all around it. Alright, starting off, we're going to start at the famous Ferris wheel shot. As the cars are breaking down into the International Horseshoe, this spot is great any time of day. It is most popular at night with the lights of the Ferris wheel in the background and the rotors glowing. However, this is also excellent for right before sunrise when you start getting the orange glow peeking over the horizon. For anything here really, you won't want to be any faster than 1/40th, and really play with the shutter speed, dropping down to 1/5 or lower here in the early morning hours, practicing whip pans, etc. This is also a really great spot to get the rear of the cars at sunrise with the air traffic control tower in the background. Now moving around the horseshoe, there's usually a gap in the banners to shoot right down head-on as the cars are approaching the horseshoe. This is a great spot early in the mornings, just after sunrise, to get the early morning glow hitting the cars just right. And it's a great spot to show the wear on the cars as we're coming into the later part of the race. Now as a fan, you will be shooting through double fencing, and you will need at least a 500mm at a low aperture to make both layers of the fence disappear. But even like a 600 at f6 is enough to make this work. However, you will want to make sure you pre-focus on the part of the track where you want the cars, as autofocus through double fencing can act a little weird. Coming fully around the International Horseshoe, we will get to a more recognizable location of the front profile as they're exiting the corner with the Rolex banners in the background, all that great stuff. It's so simple and just so clean and effective spot all around. For here, try going a bit high and low. And frame the blue barrier in the foreground of the cars. Ideally, you will want to be around 400 millimeters here. However, bring a wide angle here as well. And practice panning really with both lenses. And you can really get some great results and some variety like you see here. This is a great morning spot as the sun is low behind your back, or at sunset like you see here. No matter the focal length you have, you can get away with a lot, as I'll use anything from a 70 millimeter to a 600 millimeter here usually. Now this is right in the kink as the cars are approaching the West Horseshoe. For this you will need a step stool to get above the fence, but it's a very dynamic and clean backdrop with the stands in the back. This is generally a spot best early in the day, however definitely hit this around golden hour to get the light to hit the car as the sun goes behind the stands. A simple 24 to 105 will get the job done here, as you really don't need any reach. Approaching the West Horseshoe, we hit my favorite all-time spot to be for sunset and even into the night. You'll want to stay with a wide angle here, typically around 80 to 90 millimeters. Right here though, you're really in the best spot for sunset. From here, the sun goes right behind the banks, and shooting wide, you can get some absolutely amazing colors in the sky with the brakes glowing. It's also a really nice spot at night, as you can see here as well. Now coming into the West Horseshoe itself, this is a great place to get the cars both approaching and exiting the horseshoe. You will need a longer lens here, usually around 500 millimeters, as you will be shooting through double fencing unless you're credentialed, of course. But this is a great spot to catch the cars running wide and sometimes into the grass a little. Alright, now wrapping around the West Horseshoe, we'll cover the main bleachers right at the exit, and you might want to use this to pan the cars entering the horseshoe, and that's going to be a hard no. The background here is really choppy and just won't work. Instead, you're going to want to climb to the top of the stands and shoot off the back. When the cars are on the banks, somewhere around 300 millimeter is all you'll need for here. This is hands down my favorite spot for the banks. You'll get a bit of grass clipping at the bottom of the frame, and it just works. Just make sure you stay below 1/40th of a second. The best time to come here is going to be early in the morning, preferably on a practice day, as the sun rises, it will cast harsh shadows down onto the banking. Now walking the track up towards turn 6, as the cars are coming back to the banking, you will find a small bleacher. For anyone not credentialed, this is going to be your best spot for the fireworks at 10 p.m. A wide angle is all you need. What you see here is about 55 millimeters at 1/25th of a second. Now, for those of you who are credentialed, down at turn 6 you'll see a gate by a marshal's post. And if you go around to where the catch wires are, this is a great spot to get the cars coming onto the banking with the stands in the background. Here, a 7200 is all you'll really need, and I just love how clean this is. Now those that are credentialed, you'll find walking towards the bus stop to stop and get some photos of the cars passing the banners. There's not much to really cover here other than that, but I feel like just for the sake of this guide, we're just going to note it. Alright, now we get to the bus stop, aka the Le Mans chicane. For this, you will 100% need to be credentialed, as it's just not possible to access as a fan, but there really is no greater of a spot to experience the cars at speed. You'll have many options for photos, the most common being head-on with the cars navigating through. For this, it's really best in the later hours leading up to sunset and catch a bit of glow on the cars. You'll want to be around 500 millimeters here to frame it in tight with the curbs. For shooting the rear, you typically can get good light anytime in the later afternoon, usually around 4 p.m. And it's kind of the same philosophy. You'll want to be around 5 to 600 millimeters as well. Catching the cars panning through here, you can usually get away with a wide angle around 60 millimeters. Frame it midway through the chicane to get the curbing in here to just add some color. Coming around NASCAR 3 and 4, you will want to be credentialed here, but it's just an overall great spot to get the cars on the banking once more. And make sure to use both a telephoto and a wide angle. This is going to be your best spot to get the Daytona logo on the bank. This spot is best in the mid-afternoon for daytime shots. However, this is not a spot to miss going into the night hour, as the compression on the cars here gives some great photos of the sparks coming off the cars. And that will complete our lap around Daytona. There are really endless options for photos here. There's so much more you can come up with here, like shooting the cars across the lake, etc. But for those that have either never been or those that are just looking for an added inspiration, I hope this helps. If you've enjoyed watching this video, please be sure to give it a like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to not miss another. Thanks for watching, y'all. I'll see you in the next one.